I'm in Texas. I've had a couple of drinks this morning.
Yeah, Abel's hammered.
This is not this evening. This is this morning. And in case you guys don't know what it looks like, this is what happens when Abel's drunk. And I'm hammered.
So I will be carrying the show. Yeah, so we are in Texas at my place. You guys know the spot. Not in the theater at Abel's because going to California all the time starts to suck. You know, traffic. But Welcome to this episode of Beers and Breakdowns. In this episode, we are doing Greyman again. So I know you guys have seen it with Kurt doing it, but this movie was so cool and there was so many things that I wanted to talk about and at least hit on some tactical points that I thought were really cool about the movie. There was some really good tactical decisions made in this movie. So I don't know who the tactical advisor was for this, and that's something that we want to start doing, is looking up the tactical advisor if we can find out who it is and give them credit, because a lot of times tactical advisors don't get any credit and they really deserve, you know, quite a bit, because they're the ones that, you know, said, hey, this doesn't make sense, and if you want people to buy into the movie, you need to have everything make sense as much as possible, especially when it comes to military related stuff.
And Billy Bob Thornton.
Who's awesome.
Which doesn't really happen, right? We don't get to watch very many movies with Billy Bob Thornton, and so when I do,
he typically knocks out of the park when you do it too.
Like, always does.
He set a standard that if he's going to be in the movie, it's going to be pretty sweet. So let's jump into some tactics for Greyman. Let us know what you guys think about this movie. Did you love it? Did you skip it? I'm gonna be honest, when I first saw it, what made me not want to watch it was Steve Rogers and a mustache. As soon as I saw
Lloyd Hansen? I love Lloyd Hansen.
I love Lloyd Hansen.
It's one of the greatest characters ever. I love it.
I love it after I watched the movie.
Yeah.
But when I saw the previews of, what's his name in real life?
Chris Evans.
When I saw Chris Evans with his goofy, like, raper stash, he looks like he's just
molestache?
like the molester stash. He looks like he's just trying to give candy to kids outside of an elementary school. I was like, I don't want to watch that movie with him. And plus, I want to be honest with you, he's too open about being like hardcore liberal. And I know that politics shouldn't matter, but when a movie is tactical and tactically related, and then you have an actor who's like super left, those are at odds. Guns and tactics and military is always going to be at odds with the left. So when you try to smash those actors into this like super tactical role, I could speak on behalf of the military community, I could speak on behalf, I think so, on the tactical community, the gun-loving community, the 2A community. We don't like it.
But I like Lloyd Hansen.
Yeah, but his character is super cool.
Call me Lloyd. I think you're dead, but call me Lloyd.
Just make it painless. You understand? Roger that.
Why wouldn't he use the gun?
We'll save the comments. That was hilarious. I love how he was like, I want him, you have to kill him, but I want it painless.
Yeah.
So
he gets a knife.
So he gets a knife out. Like, bro, you think
it's like
the knife,
most pain you can inflict?
Right. You think a knife is gonna be painless, dude? That's gonna hurt like hell.
The guy's picking up the gun, and I'm assuming they're in a cylindrical tube in the air, so nobody wants to fire one of those. But again, if it's lodged in someone's brain, right? I don't, or it's exiting. I don't think it's gonna have the same velocity. But
even if you shoot a gun inside of a plane, and it punches one hole through the fuselage, like, is it gonna destroy the entire plane?
Yeah.
I would say no.
No.
You know, like, you could shove your finger in there.
Which obviously they proceed to destroy the entire plane. So obviously that wasn't going to be that big of a deal, but I think from the get-go.
Is that a smoke? Is it a smoke? I thought that scene was super cool. I thought initially that he was using flares, which I guess wouldn't make sense. Like, why do you have flares attached to your body? Typically, the only time I saw flares was when I was a police officer. and we use flares for accidents on the highway.
They would show us purple, so it makes you like think that it's a flare, right? Instead of just smoke, because smoke would just be black and it would be non-flame.
Yeah, so it's. Are you colorblind?
No.
That's red. It was like pink and red, reddish pink.
So I just said pink.
You said purple.
Oh, pink.
Oh, you meant pink? You said.
I'm drunk. What do you want from me?
You're like.
I'm sorry if I got the shade of color wrong.
You're like, this shows us purple. I was like, what?
On some parts of it, it did show us purple when it was darker.
Yeah,
it could have been misconstrued as purple.
The flares, the burn comes off red.
Yeah.
The smoke is obviously just smoke, but
Yeah.
it seems red because of the glare from the flare
Like a smoke
itself.
bomb by itself would have just been smoke. So like it wouldn't have given a color. So
Right.
like something is illuminating it
Yeah.
throughout it, which makes you think it's a flare. I don't know.
And when you throw smoke, I'm trying to remember when we threw smokes. Typically, when we threw smokes, we threw them.
They were gone.
They were gone, so we didn't sit there and hold them. But smokes get really hot, so it's burning off all that whatever's happening in there to cause that reaction. It's a burning.
Yeah.
So it can shoot like a little bit of a fire out the top, which could be causing that. But it's going to get really hot, so you can't just be holding on to it.
Right.
So that's what they're intended to throw. But I do like that he got the smoke and was fighting with it. Not only did it make one of the coolest visuals ever, like the scene of just him going out. It's like a dance scene that you would see in Vegas or some kind of performance. And then it looks so badass. But on top of that, as he's using it to hit him in the face, he's concealing his position and making it harder for them to attack him because he's kind of concealing himself. He's concealing his movements in the smoke.
He's also concealing them. But,
And so yeah, it has that reverse effect to where you're concealing them. But
That's
pros and cons is you're having to fight multiple assailants.
Right.
So I would rather conceal them knowing that I'm only fighting one at a time. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm in contact with you. I only need to know where you are.
Yeah.
And then from there, I could either try to get away or I come in contact with another one, and then I have to fight them. So I just thought that was really cool. I thought they were flares at first, which would have been sweet because you could burn people with flares as you're hitting them. The damage would be a lot less. You're like, tuk. You're like, ow.
It burned me.
Stop.
Like that's always been your main thing is like if you're gonna assault an objective, you never pop smoke because you can't see, right? So like, you can't see either. So
Yeah.
that's been one of your main points. I remember that.
Like it goes both ways when it comes to smoke. It's hard to, and you have to be constant.
Like I'm concealed, but so are you. Like I can no longer see where you are.
Right.
Especially if I'm about to charge in with a gun and start clearing a house, I'm not gonna pop smoke in front of it to where I can't see you either. Like it's a disadvantage.
Yeah, smoke is really deliberate. We used smoke one time, Afghanistan, and the enemy combatant is firing at, which I have video on, but
Let's keep it
Yeah.
under wraps.
but so the enemy combatant's firing at my teammate. I didn't know this. My terp was just like, hey, he's firing at us. So we start shooting at him, and then it's like, well, if he's not firing at us, because we know the zips and pops aren't coming our way. So he's not firing at us. Who is he firing at? So we could fire smoke on his position, which will make it harder for my teammate to hit him, but it's also making it harder for him to hit my teammate.
Yeah.
So it'd be better if I could smoke his position and then my teammate could move and either find a better position or just get away from the fire to find some concealment. So smoke goes both ways, but you have to be strategic about it. And then you have to know the wind direction. It's really hard to like work with smoke because once you pop it, you never know what the wind's going to do with it.
But obviously you're not going to pop it when the objective is to just charge forward and take out an objective.
No, that wouldn't make any sense. But people love to do it anyway. I love this scene because most people would have overlooked that, but somebody did a good job thinking like, hey, he can't just take a nap. What if somebody walks in on him? Mm-hmm. So they thought, well, in the military, when we go, typically we're not by ourselves, so when we go prone to be in a security position, we stack legs on top of each other. And the whole point of stacking is so we always have contact. So if you move or get up, it wakes me up. So or if you're going to put your rifle down, you put it leaning against you. So if you move, it hits the ground. You're like, oh crap. So we always kind of try to build in these redundancies or these safety mechanisms in order to alert us if something's happening when we eventually doze off or become complacent. So he knows that he needs to get sleep. He has to, recharge his batteries for what's to come. And he can't just like be sitting in a room completely vulnerable, because then you're just going to wake up with a gun in your face. So you give yourself even a split second of warning by tying your shoelace. He ties his shoelaces to the door handle, so that way he could rack out, and if anybody starts to open that door handle, it's going to pull on his foot.
Yeah.
And it'll wake him up, and then he has the time to react. He could just kick his shoe off if it's tied real well, kick his shoe off, and then meet him at the door ready to fight. So it's just one of those things when movies when they go the extra mile to think about tactics and to think about what makes sense for this, I love that. And that's what sells me on a movie is, did they say, it's Hollywood, don't worry about it? Or did they say, what is the issue here? The issue is he has a safety concern while he's sleeping. How do we solve that issue? Well, let's see. He could set something up. He can he could tie a shoelace. Maybe he could lean up against the door, so if they pull and they start to think through how to solve those problems, that to me is the difference between a good movie and a bad movie.
And he was eating Subway.
What happened? Again. Okay. Well, I'll try and stay out of your way. Mind? Yeah?
Sure.
Thanks. Nice to meet you.
I love that scene. You don't want pictures of yourself when you're an operative just laying around.
He's like, I'll take this.
So he just asked her in a nice way, like, oh, can I look at it? Oh, really cool. You mind if I have it? Instead of just being like, you can't have this.
Yeah.
Because she's a child. If you tell her she can't have something, she's going to want it.
Which somebody could have easily written that in.
Right.
Been like, oh, no, I'm a big tough guy. Give me that picture.
Give me that. You can't have this
Which
laying
obviously
around.
you would never do to a child.
Right.
So.
Because then they're going to be taking pictures of you every time you turn around.
Yeah.
So he did it a weird way. Oh, it's really cool picture. Mind if I have it? She's like, sure, I don't care. Now she's lost interest and she'll never take a picture again. But you cannot leave pictures of yourself lying around. Let's say that this is a SEER school thing where you get rolled up and now you have this whole backstory and they have pictures of where you've been and who you know. And now all of a sudden your backstory doesn't line up. You're shafted.
Yeah.
It's over. Another thing that I feel like we have to mention if we're going to talk about this movie is how unbelievably great this young lady is.
First of all, she's a great actress. She was in a movie with Leonardo DiCaprio. It was a Tarantino movie, the last one. It was like oddly long, and then he beat the crap out of some people at the end of it. Brad Pitt did. Anyway, Once Upon a Time in L.A., something like that.
Okay.
I think that's the name of the movie. But I agree, 100%. Like the fact that they wrote in, if not for this part of the movie, the Greyman would have fell apart completely.
Yeah,
like if
she brings it together.
If you did not have, and not even her necessarily, obviously she's a great actress and they wrote her into the role, but without this character, you don't have a movie, in my opinion, because he's primed and just like perfectly written to care about something. You just don't know what it is until they show it to you. And then when they do, you're like, all of it makes sense.
Yeah.
Like, who wouldn't fight for that kid, right?
And then she's phenomenal, dude. Her sense of humor, the way she talks, the way she snaps back at him.
Right.
It's just like...
And he's always like flat plane, like deadpan, like you have no emotion from the character, which I think was on purpose. They were like, don't give him any emotion either way, so that when you introduce this character, it's a straight line to that character, and then there's nothing else, right? He doesn't care about food, he doesn't care about life, he doesn't care about anything, but now he cares about this character, and it makes it easier for all of us to just understand that that's what's happening. So good. The flashlight's just going all over the place.
Love this scene. There's some really good tactical stuff here, and one is white light. So understanding white light. White light does two things, right? It obviously illuminates everything for you to see, but it also gives away your position. So you got to be really careful about how you use white light and when you use white light. And I love this scene because he's using white light to his advantage. He's also doing something that we talked about in The Killer Part 2, where we said you don't scan with your muzzle, you don't paint the walls with your muzzle, and that could be your gun, that could also be your white light. You don't paint the walls with the light either. You scan with your eyes. And so what did he do when he had the white light? He scanned with his eyes, he identified a target, he turned the light to his chest, and he blocked his light so he's not giving away his position. He's already identified his target. He hears him. Now the target doesn't know where he is, and he hears him coming through. He sees a little bit of a shadow, and then he could use his light to blind him and attack. So tons of really great tactics in a scene that seems almost insignificant. Looking around with his white light covers it. You probably wouldn't even get that. Looking around with his white light gets in a fight is probably what most people would see.
Yeah.
But the reality is, looking around with his white light, using his head to scan, not painting the walls, hears something, covers his white light to not give away his position, identifies the target, blinds him, then attacks. It's a lot more in depth. So I love when instead of just skipping, they say, no, dude, let's show all of it, and let's show that thought process and the realism in his tactical decisions.
Jackpot in the world.
Him building essentially a pipe bomb was super cool.
Yeah.
Will it work or not? I don't know. Probably not. Let's be honest. But is it cool? Is it plausible? Absolutely. He's essentially he took all the he took most of his bullets. He saved one. He took most of his ammunition. He saved one. He took the bullets out of the casing, and then dumped the black powder into a napkin. He essentially started his whole journey of MacGyvering with a safety kit. So he's got safety shears, he's got his little med kit with him, which absolutely you would have a med kit with you. You know, why wouldn't you? If you're going to have any kind of kit at all, the first thing you get is self-defense, and then second thing is medical supplies.
Yeah.
So he opens up his med kit and he sees what he has, and he has to start using his imagination. He doesn't instantly start making a pipe bomb. He has to use his imagination, say, what do I have available? What's in my surroundings? And how do I think through this? Yeah. So then he uses his med shears. The most unbelievable part is to cut through the pipe with those shears. It would probably take him like 3 hours, but maybe it did. And maybe that's how much time he spent cutting that pipe. Who cares? Then he takes his bullets, disassembles them, puts the black powder into a napkin, wraps that up, shoves it into the pipe, and then he has to initiate that black powder with something. So he puts his the pipe bomb on the muzzle of his pistol as though it's a suppressor.
Yeah.
Tapes it on there. It would work because you have the round chambered, so you don't have to cycle the pistol. It doesn't have to cycle to reload the next round. So even though you taped up the slide, it doesn't need to cycle. It's fine. As long as the hammer hits that round, it creates an explosion, you'll ignite the pipe bomb. Yeah. So you only need to fire that one round. So he could tape that pipe bomb around the entire slide, and then he uses a rope that he has to pull the trigger and then initiate the pipe bomb once it's up. I think the biggest kind of like wild thing was that he had access to water in order to float him up to the top.
I think the part that's most unbelievable is the fact that the water would fill up that much
fast
in that short amount of time. I think it would take at least a day for
Yeah.
you to fill up with
sure.
a slow. I mean, unless there's insane pressure going through that pipe, which I don't think there is. Like, let alone mist. Like, you need a lot of water filling that much space to fill up an entire barrel like that. It's a good move.
You must be Lloyd. What gave it away? The white pants, the trash stash. It's just... It leans Lloyd.
The white pants, the trash stash, it leaves Lloyd. Money, so beautifully written. Is this realistic? No, dude. I've been sprayed with pepper spray in the police academy. That stuff is brutal. And if you think you're gonna spray somebody and then sit there face to face talking to them, you're out of your mind. Once that stuff, you have a couple seconds where it doesn't affect you.
I'm tough, Sean.
Oh yeah, you're.
First of all, I'm watching this movie. I'm tough. If you spray me, I'm gonna have a very comedic
Listen, I'm not joking.
exchange with you.
I'm not joking. I have pepper spray downstairs.
Okay, well, fuck you. I'm making a point here.
I have
I'm
the
making a
police
point.
academy pepper spray.
No,
do you want to try it?
Absolutely not.
Because
I
I'd
won't
be
even
happy
eat that.
to run that camera while you take some.
No, I won't even eat that chip you guys ate. I'm not doing that.
I'll give you just a little mist.
I'm simply making
Just a spritz.
No, I'm simply making a point that you can watch a movie like this and say, I'm tough enough to do what he's doing, so it makes sense. That's all I'm saying. I'm not trying to get sprayed in the face with pepper spray.
No, am I watching this going, I'm bothered and this is horrible and this is a huge mistake? No.
Yeah.
But is it realistic? Absolutely not, because pepper spray stinks so bad.
I just think most men want to look at this and be like, yeah,
I could do it.
I would fight through the pain and have this conversation with my eyes closed. It's
Yeah.
like,
No, you wouldn't. It burns so bad. The next day, I was like vomiting. Some people are affected more by pepper spray than others.
No.
That day, I did what everybody else did. I wasn't like, oh, it stunk, and I was hurting, and I was trying to fan my eyes out and do the water and all that stuff. But by the next day, it like had such an effect on me that I felt nauseous. I had to sit in the tub and like just sit
Fuck
underwater.
that, dude.
It was horrible.
No, sir.
So the fact that he just sprays him, then instantly he's fine, and he's
He just
like,
has to keep his eyes closed, and
Yeah.
he's like, it kind of
like,
hurts.
nah, probably not.
You able? How?
That's
I
me.
can walk, but I'm missing a wing. Wiggle your finger with this wing. That'll do. You okay?
Took you long enough.
Sorry about that. My flight was delayed. I knew you'd catch another one. Put these in your ears.
Ah, so dope.
I
But-
love that somebody thought to give the kid earplugs.
Yes.
You know how loud it is to sit there and shoot guns all over the place? Like, it's so loud and it's so like overwhelming and damaging to your ears and to your senses. Like, to just think, hey, put these in your ears. Genius. Like, it shows the next level of somebody sitting there going through the script going, does this make sense? Does this make sense? Can this make more sense? Can we do better? I love it.
It's like they made so much sense. Like
Yeah.
every scene, they were like, hey, put these in. Like,
Yeah.
obviously she would need earplugs. Somebody sat there and said, hey, so the kid probably needs earplugs, right? Like somebody, I think that's literally what it comes down to. Somebody in the room says, this should happen.
Yeah, some person was like, hey, I took my kid to the range, or I shoot guns, and
Yeah.
I would never not give my kid earplugs because their ears are way more sensitive. They don't shoot guns. They're not used to it. And you're just ruining them by trying to shoot guns around them. And then second, his gun looked right. That's another thing, is somebody went through his rifle and said, this looks right for you. This is what you would use if you got to pick your AR. So he's suppressed. Not only does he have a suppressor, he has a suppressor cover. And a suppressor cover may not seem like a big deal, but we always use suppressor covers, and for a very particular reason. The dog guys use them so they didn't burn the dogs. Okay. So you put your suppressor down. I've burned through my pants with a suppressor. I've had my team sergeant melt a hole through the bottom of the razor. So it melted into the plastic floorboard of the razor, and his gun was stuck.
Oh, shit.
So we went shooting, blah, blah, blah. He jumps in the razor, slings his weapon, and starts doing something else. Meanwhile, his barrel is just melting into the floor, and he goes to grab his rifle, and it's stuck in the floor.
It's now plastic.
It's melting through the plastic. So that those suppressors get so hot that you need to have a suppressor cover if you're going to be running and gunning, because you're going to be slinging, throwing it. The person next to you could get burned. You could sling it to go to transition, and it could be burning my leg. Your suppressor could be burning me. So it's just little things like that with gear that you're like, looks right. And if the general public looks at it and doesn't recognize why, it doesn't matter. They go, this is right. And I don't know why, but I know it's right. Because everything I've seen looks like this.
Yeah.
So you have to look the part, and all the gear decisions that we make are for a reason, because something went wrong and then we fixed it. And now we use that piece of gear because it's a fix to something that could go wrong. So it's not just like we woke up one morning and we're like, we're going to do all these things with gear because it looks cool. No, everything we use is for a reason.
Yeah.
So we already went through all the hard work of figuring out what to use. If you want to make a movie about it, just ask us and do what the heck we tell you, and it'll look right. It's not like there's a shortage of guys out there that'll help you tell you what to do.
You'll never talk back to me, you understand? I will end you.
Almost, I'm gonna tell you right now, almost every really tough man that you know about, whether it's special operations or whatever, has some childhood trauma.
Yeah.
We become really, really tough men and do really, really tough things because of childhood trauma a lot of times. I'm telling you, you don't believe me. If you know some special operations guys in your life, go talk to them. A lot of them are suffering from childhood trauma. And we go to special operations because we have that void in ourselves that wants to be fulfilled by knowing that we're men and that we're tough and that we could do hard things because our fathers weren't there, or our fathers were abusive, or things like that. So childhood trauma is rampant in the special operations community. And I've talked to tier 1 guys, I've talked to CAG operators, and they all agree the same thing. Actually, Tyler Grays has a book coming out, and his whole thing is that PTSD, combat PTSD, isn't real, that it's all related to childhood trauma. Like, that's his selling point in his book. But if I also wrote a book on that because I wanted to focus on childhood trauma called Better Broken. I've done 2, Rising Above and Better Broken. But if you're suffering from childhood trauma, I hate to use this as a selling point, but this is a perfect spot for it. Go check out my book, Better Broken, because my whole book is about how to use your childhood trauma to achieve greatness in life. Because a lot of us are suffering, and a lot of us do great achievements because we're trying to fill a void, because we have a lot of gaps in our childhood that weren't fulfilled, where the typical ideal role of a father would have been, or a good mom, or a good support system. So check that out. Hope you enjoy. If you did read my book, Better Broken, picked it up on audio, it was #1 for a while. I appreciate that. Thank you guys so much for supporting me. Please drop a review on it. There's not that many reviews. I got so many on the first one, and the second one, even though the numbers did great, not many people are reviewing it. So I don't get to get your feedback because I really want to know what you guys think. So drop a review, drop a comment down below if you get it. If you can help me, drop a link down below so people could go check out my book, Better Broken. And thank you guys so much. Rising Above is also one of my books. We'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.